On the tech support side for HeatCraft, I'll just share this real quick story.
Sure.
We get a lot of phone calls. Well, someone will ask us, hey, I've got this model number and this serial number equipment. Can you tell me what refrigerant it is? Back in the day, you could do that because we designed
Yeah.
it for specific refrigerant. A lot of technicians think that these A2Ls were going to be reinventing the wheel, or they have to reinvent all of their technical background and their technical acumen in order to service this. And it's really not. It's the same wheel, just a couple more added spokes is really what it is. So if you have a good foundation for refrigerants, you're going to have a good foundation for A2L.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable Trades podcast. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you like this video. And if you're listening to this on the audio over on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other platform, please leave a review. That's all free and it helps support the show and helps it get out to more people. And of course, I'm your host, Adrian Garcia. I am an HVAC technician, licensed contractor here in Texas, and I've been doing this about 18 years. And we just have a lot of good conversations with good people in different trades now, whether it's HVAC, plumbing, electrical. I've had some others in like auto mechanics, anything like that. You bring them on, have a good conversation, and hopefully get more trade awareness out there. I also want to thank our new sponsors, CallRail. So I've been more into marketing and just online presence with our business, even though we only do commercial. Word of mouth is really good for any business. But once you get to a place where you want to be, a big name online or just anywhere, be recognizable, like I said, online presence, have a nice website, be able to be searchable in Google and all these different search engines, and just have a big presence. You need to know where to spend your money, and all I'm going to say is that CallRail can help you track that if that's something that you're interested in. CallRail can tell you, hey, these are not working so much, these are working really good, stop spending your money here, put more money and effort into this, and just be smarter about what you spend. So make sure you go by callrail.com. They do have a no risk free trial and you can check it out for yourself. And when you're doing your day-to-day work, you got to make bids, you got to do those quotes. I think one of the things that we have to deal with now is finding and pricing out parts. And that's why I wanted to tell you guys about We Supply Trades. They are a family-owned online distributor with over 90 years of experience in HVAC, hydronics, and the plumbing world. And if you need parts quickly, they have a massive inventory, which I've been told they've been adding to weekly. You can order by 3:30 p.m. Eastern and get it shipped same day. They have their pro membership, which is not only free, but you also get the benefit of better pricing, free shipping over $99, free returns. And for my listeners, you get a bonus of 15% off your first order with code reliable15. And if you're looking for a supplier who truly understands your world, please go check out wesupplytrades.com. I'll leave my exclusive link down in the description. And these guys just get it. Local HQ is a marketing that is geared towards the trades, proven strategies that get your business more leads. They can help you rank higher on Google and all that you would need. So reach out to them at localhq.com/reliable and mention me or the Reliable Trades podcast and get 2 months of SEO for free. All right, Chris, how are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself? Appreciate it.
It's summer in Texas. It's pretty hot. We've been busy.
Yeah. Summer in Florida. I think we're kindred spirits at this point, right?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, usually they're the ones that get the same kind of weather plus a little bit of humidity.
Yeah. I think we're definitely in the same building as far as that goes, though, for sure.
Yeah, because I live by the coast, so we do have a beach like an hour and a half ish away, so we get that weather and hurricane weather and all that stuff.
Yeah. I live in Clearwater, so I'm literally like 5 miles from the beach, so I definitely get that beach going on.
Well, it's cool. It's cool when you need to go get away for a little bit, but then all the weather that comes with it is something else.
Yeah, we had a couple hurricanes last year that weren't too fun.
Yeah, man. But heat, humidity, good for business, so can't complain too much.
I kind of look at, yeah, 95 degrees pays the mortgage, so I don't complain too much.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Chris, can you give us a quick intro as to who you are, what you do for HeatCraft there?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. So my name is Chris Thomas. I'm the supervisor of product services for Heatcraft Refrigeration, which is to say that I supervise the field support engineers. I'm also a field support engineer myself, but with the supervisor job, I got a lot more desk work that I have to do more often now. But I've been with Heatcraft going on 4 years. I've been in the refrigeration industry for 40 years. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
been around the block a couple times. Yeah.
Well, I've been doing this almost 20 years now. I feel like I'm
Ah, good
getting
for
up
you, man.
there.
Excellent. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. You look
So,
good for 20 years, man. You're taking care of yourself. That's good.
well, yeah, I'm taking over my dad's business, right? Because he started our business, and he doesn't do AC or refrigeration. He does like the cooking equipment. So we cater to restaurants and kitchen work and stuff like that. That's where I work on a bunch of like heatcraft or smaller
Yeah,
equipment and stuff like that. So he started it, and I came in and did the HVAC and kind of took over. Like it's kind of like a partnership, right? He does half, I do half. He likes to stick me with all the billing and paperwork side of it. So that I've been doing that since we started, and I always say because I'm taking over. It's overwhelming at times, and we're getting into that transition. But I was like, he's had it open for almost 20 years, so I mean, he's doing something right. He's done
yeah.
everything the
Hey,
old school way. I'm trying to introduce some new stuff just to make it a little bit easier, but we've been open this long.
and that's saying something, man, because a lot of very well-intentioned and very competent, well-trained guys, they just don't last when they first start the company up. But it's good to see 20 years, man. That's excellent. Excellent.
I admire it more now. When I started, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this, and you know how I was a kid, so you know how it is.
Oh yeah,
And
no, I started. Yeah, I started when I was 14 with my dad. That's
oh,
ironically, I work with my dad. He had a, he's passed now, but he was more in the residential side. I got all of my basics from him, but like any residential, that's a tough job, man. And especially in Texas and Florida, you can't take those attics for too long. I had to move on to some commercial stuff and expand my
okay.
horizons a little bit. So yeah.
So your dad was, and you were in the residential space?
Yeah, yeah. My dad, two of my brothers were actually worked with him as well. I did the install,
Oh
startup
wow.
process. My brothers did the servicing and maintenance side of it. So, and then we started cross training. I did
So
that for probably 6 years before I said I want to get into commercial. I really like the commercial work.
but were you still doing like service installs and commercial, or was it something else?
No, on the when I got into the commercial aspect of it, I did mainly service and maintenance. I did some installs, but it was usually change outs, not any new construction kind of stuff or anything. It was mainly change outs. And then I transitioned to parallel racks and supermarkets.
Oh, okay. So you were just tired of those Florida attics.
They're brutal. That and underneath mobile homes. I did that for way
Oh
too
yeah,
many
I
years.
know.
That's
I know a
tough.
guy that
Yeah.
does all of that stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do it.
God bless him because that's tough, man. That's definitely a niche,
Um,
but yeah, good for him.
so that was my thing. My dad already did commercial kitchen equipment, and I was like, I already know what I'm gonna do, but I've been asked about residential. I'm like, I don't think I can do the attics. I don't think I can do, all those tight spots. And I'm good with commercial. So I'd rather be on a rooftop in this heat, all day long versus in an attic all day long. I'll take that, over that.
I am 100% behind you on that one. And if you're on a roof, you can at least bring an umbrella. You're not bringing an umbrella into an attic. There's just no
Oh
escape
no.
from that unless you just got to get out and rest, and then you're unproductive. So,
No, there's a lot of hats off to the residential guys that do the attic stuff. I always say, take your breaks, stay hydrated,
stay hydrated.
take a fan up there, do something because there's no escaping that heat.
Yeah, no. I have a lot of respect for residential guys because that's just, it's, to me, my personal opinion is just, it's infinitely tougher doing the residential stuff because it's cramped and it's usually a lot harder, and generally you don't have a lot of time to do your work either. You got to get, yeah, you're constantly running and gunning service calls.
And in people's homes, I know another guy that has rough. It's like a property management deal, so it's like all these tenants,
Hmm.
pretty rough living conditions, and he has to work in there. I'm like, again, I don't know how you do it, but
Yeah, my brother is still to this day does residential.
okay, cool.
I like, good for you, man. Good for you. I can't do that anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm partial to commercial, and I know I've talked with some of the HeatCraft people. Like, I genuinely love working on commercial equipment, walk-in boxes, things like that. And that's what I've always loved doing. And today we can talk about some of those applications, because obviously there's been a shift in refriger the regulations, the refrigerants that we use. Everybody's going into a panic, and I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's more of an annoyance, because I do a little bit of everything, and you can imagine I already stopped trying to take all the refrigerants that I would need, and I just pick up what I need for the day.
You know what? And that's probably a good plan because when I was a lot younger tech, and I'm talking about in the probably the mid '90s when we there was that. This is my second fundamental shift in how the
Oh,
industry operates. Right before
yeah.
we had, we got rid of the 22 and the 12s and the 11s, and we went to the 410s and all that. That was a big thing, and then we had the EPA 608 Act. We all had to get certified for recovery and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big shakeup, if you will, if I can even use that term. And this is just 2.0 with this new A2L stuff because you still have the exact same science, and I think a lot of
Hmm.
guys are just they're just intimidated by it, and there's really no reason to be.
Yeah, and I do, like I said, refrigeration. We have seen actual like A3s, like the flammable um R290 and
Mhm.
R600, all these other
600, yep.
refrigerants that are actual, like, basically propane. And I think people get confused, which is why I've been trying to talk about it more. Like, people get confused where an A2L they think is propane. I'm like, we're
Right.
not there yet. That's not what we're doing right now. All it
No, no.
is just obviously for the atmosphere, the ozone, GWP, all that is just, they're cracking down on it, and we got to
Mhm.
use what they say. Like you said, we've done it before. It took a while, but we got rid of all those. At least on my side, I know some people still buy R22. Actually, you know
Mhm.
what? We actually have an R22 system in our house still. Runs perfectly fine, and I'll ride it out till it quits. But for me on in my business, we slowly got rid of all the R22, and it's just, like I said, an annoyance, because now I gotta phase out the other stuff that we have, and then get to the new stuff. But carrying 8, 10 refrigerant tanks is not feasible for me. So now I just, I dealt with it. So now it's like, what calls do I have today? What refrigerant am I taking on the van? I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that one because you'd almost have to tow a trailer with all the different refrigerants that we have to deal with now. So you stick with your three or four more
Main
commonly
ones.
used things. And most contractors, they kind of stick to two, three, maybe four refrigerants that they generally use on a regular basis. And that was another thing that we've kind of developed too is on the tech support side for HeatCraft, I'll just share this real quick story.
Sure.
We get a lot of phone calls. Well, someone will ask us, hey, I've got this model number and this serial number equipment. Can you tell me what refrigerant it is? Back in the day, you could do that because we designed
Yeah.
it for specific refrigerant, and now it's universal. Well, not universal, but there's a wide range of gases you could use now. And unfortunately, we have to tell them, no, we actually can't. We don't know
Mm-mm.
what was put into it. And if the technician, the installer, or the startup guy didn't mark it,
Label.
or yeah, label it, or put a P-touch or a Sharpie or anything. I mean, I have technicians that'll spray paint compressors, with the color of the
Oh,
gas. That's a decent trick. But
yeah.
if there's nothing there, and then they end up, I don't know what gas it is, and then okay, well, that's, you got to pull out the recovery drum and your PT chart, and you got to figure out what you got.
Oh yeah,
And
I was gonna say that there are ways to guess. Like if you want to go with a PT chart and check your pressures and all that. I still wouldn't be comfortable, because I did have exactly that situation recently.
yeah,
And it was, and we see nothing but HeatCraft. And I will say I've tried, I've had my critiques about HeatCraft, but for the most part,
mhm,
easiest to install, easiest to service. You know, you know what you get with HeatCraft, in my opinion. Versus others, I'm still on tech support trying to get answers, and tech support's a little iffy on that side. So that's another brand. But I
right,
went to this location and they got another company, cheaper bid. We see it all the time,
mhm,
and they put in a HeatCraft. I have no complaint about the installations. Everything looks good. Units working fine. I have no issue, except they didn't mark what they used, and I have no idea what it is. And like you said, there was like these, I would give tips when I started because I could tell, right? Mineral oil was obviously R22 if it was a compressor that had
mhm,
mineral oil. Anything after that, if we were going with 404 or 134, whatever it is, you could tell by the TXV. I mean, whatever that TXV is rated for, right?
mhm,
Everything's a little universal now. So this system that I ran into was rated, and I showed the picture because like you guys have the label on the outside on like the condensers and all that, and like there's labels there, and it's like it could be for a list of like 10 refrigerants because they all work for that system. It depends on what you designed it for the
mhm.
walk-in box, right? So I ran into that, and I told the customer, look, if this thing ends up with a leak, because I think we suspected that it might be like slightly low. I was like, I'm gonna have to recover everything, see if I can figure it out, or just use what I want to use when we put it back in, because I have no idea. So that's another little annoyance, but that's more on the technician, on the install crew. Please mark your systems.
Cannot agree with that more. We just, we would go out to site visits, and um, we would have one set of systems with 404 in it, and then another startup crew on the other side of the building would put 448 in theirs because they weren't reading specs, they weren't communicating, and now we've got different gases on the same job. It's like,
Oh,
okay, guys, I'm not sure if you actually want to do that or not, but okay, you're just setting yourself up for some issues.
yeah. So we've a lot of our customers buy their own equipment. That one, they went with a bid, and that's what happened there. So
Yeah.
I did what I could. Obviously, told them if I have to add anything or top it off, we have to recover and start from scratch. So that's an annoyance, and that's not on us. On
Yeah.
other customers, they buy their own equipment, and they were buying a lot of the Intelligen, which I did want to
Hmm.
get into in this conversation. By far, for me, the easiest to install, the easiest to service, and I do have where we first started installing them. The tech support has been really good, so I've had
Good.
good experience on HeatCraft side. Trying to figure out how to do this, because that's another thing. Like where I'm at, it's a lot of mechanical. We are not up to date with everything. Like we barely started seeing electronic, and Intelligen was kind of the first one. Like if I'm being honest, the first one that I kind of saw as at
Hmm.
like that application with the electronic expansion valve. And my mind was blown that you could have two valves in one, right? You got a pump down and the expansion valve in one part now. So started seeing that, and I
Right.
had to call customer service or tech support to get some questions because I was like, I don't know how to set this up. I thought I went through the manual and I was like, I'm missing something. They put me on hold, but they sent me a text right away, like, "Hey, I'm a little bit busy, but if you just tell me what's going on, I can give you maybe some troubleshooting tips." And they gave me easy tips through text, and I figured it out like really quick. I was like, "Thank you for that." So I've had good experience with their tech support and installing HeatCraft in general.
That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. And that I'm kind of in the same opinion of yours. Is like, when I've taught a lot of intelligent classes before. I've done a lot of intelligent startups, and somebody that has never seen Intelligen before, they've never installed it, they've never serviced it, and they're putting one in for the first time. It sounds like a cliche or an ad campaign, and it really isn't. You can, and you'll back me up on this, I'm sure. From startup, you can have that intelligent controller programmed in less than 2 minutes, and that's if you've never seen it before, because it's clear language. You don't have to decipher codes, or as I call it, the
Oh yeah.
hieroglyphics. You don't have to have the manual in front of you, like what is that a shape of? I can't tell what that is. So it's all clear language. We do some abbreviations, but it's normal abbreviations, and we don't. If we throw out an error code or an alarm code, we don't just give you the code, we give you what that code actually says in clear language. So you don't have to have the book right in front of you. It's good to have it in front of you,
Hmm.
because there are steps that will walk you through it. But the bottom line is that if you've never installed one before, you've got it in less than 2 minutes. And if you've installed them before, you can program that controller in about 30 to 45 seconds, and you're off and running after that. It's real handy, real nice.
It's straightforward because like we did a couple, and then after that, I was like, I really like these because like they're like so simple to set up and install, and it does everything for you. You just obviously set the time and date, set what it is, cooler, freezer, um, what refrigerant, and there's not much else you got to do to it. I mean, you just got to
Yeah,
tell it
and
if
what kind
it's
of defrost you want to have, and yeah, off to the
the
races. Yeah,
the
exactly.
communication, if it's communicating anything like that, and then just answer the questions, and that's it. So I've
Hmm.
really enjoyed it. Um, the only thing is that long passcode to get in. I mean that's the longest part I think to put in.
The
A
all eights
little,
and all nines.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's a little tedious, but
yeah,
after that you're in.
yeah. Unfortunately, you only need to put that in once, as long as you stay in front of the controller. And I'll give you a clue here. Is like, whenever that controller asks you for the standard pin number, which is all eights,
Hmm.
you can put in all nines, and it will accept it. So that, when I do that myself, because when you're doing any kind of changes or any kind of adjustments, and it does ask for the standard pin, if you move on to something that requires the expert pin, you got to put it in again. But if
Yeah.
you put the expert pin in first, it covers both, and you don't ever have to put it in again during that session. Kind of save a little bit of time if you do it
I was
that
gonna
way.
say I just stick to the nines and I get in there
Yep.
and do what I need to do.
Hmm.
I also want to thank the sponsors of the show, like Jobber, which is a CRM that we use to run our business, which is invoicing, quoting, scheduling jobs, maintenance contracts, and all our technicians on our team usually pick it up relatively quickly. I just have to show them what it is and they are able to get out there and start, invoicing. It's been great running our business with Jobber now. And if you guys want a free trial and discount, make sure to check the link down below, getjobber.com/reliablehvacr. I also want to thank VETO Pro Pack, the best quality bags that money can buy, literally. If you invest in these bags, as I did during the whole pandemic, I ripped so many backpacks and tool pouches that I finally, I found VETO. I think there were some YouTube videos. So check out VETO Pro Pack at your supply house or go to vetopropack.com to learn more. So you guys also have, just speaking on Intelligen and HeatCraft, you're on that universal point. You guys are making these easily either upgradable or like an all-in-one where it's like it can cover A3, A2Ls, or not A3. Is it A3 or is it just A2Ls?
Right now it's A2Ls. Yeah, we have a lot of things in development.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to you have to stay tuned for that. But we have the standard, the A1s and the A2Ls right now is what we're looking at. And then also, and to your point, we have different transducers you can program in. There's 3 different versions of EEV that you can
Mm.
plug in. You can even put this system on a TXV and select TXV as your expansion device, and then it won't try to maintain superheat because it knows it's not doing that, but it will still track all that stuff. It still gives you all the data and all the logs for it. So you can select TXV if you wanted to do that.
I actually didn't know that. That's a good thing to know.
Yeah, that's we,
Um,
we try to make it that way so you can use it for any application. That's really what we're trying to do.
so I mean, you guys are being A2 already. I saw the products over at the AHR Expo, and they did pull me aside to show even the, I don't remember if it was running R290 or something, but it was an A3 um, top unit. It was like the evaporator, the condenser, everything in one
Oh, the Pro
little.
3. Yeah, the Pro
Yes.
3.
So I didn't
Yeah.
even know that was in production or out, and I was like, that's kind of cool
Oh yeah,
because
Pro 3. Yeah, those are really great. If you have like in food courts where you don't have ready access to run lines, you can put a
yeah.
Pro 3 and it's all packaged up and it just sits on top of the box, and it's as close to plug and play as you can get to a refrigeration system. I don't want to use that term very often because then techs think, oh, I don't need to do any kind of adjustments or anything. And Pro
Oh,
3s, you're
you.
you're as close as we can get to that, but not quite there yet.
Oh, you do. I've had to come behind certain companies that have that mindset of just it's plug and play or whatever, and they leave.
Yeah.
Like I like to kind of, even with the Intelligen, I kind of like, and I've been burned by, again, another brand because of me going into this. Maybe it's because I had such a good experience with HeatCraft. I'll be honest, that I've gone into other brands thinking that too, and it doesn't work out that way. But basically, I went in with a mindset of everything's electronic, everything's computer. I should trust it. I don't have to do anything. I kind of did have that mindset too, but you gotta know what it's doing. So I like to, when we started up, go into the control board and actually get the readings and see what it does. I mean, it gives you a ton of information. Why not like use it? Why not read it as it's starting up, seeing what it's doing? I like to see what the EEV is doing, all that kind of stuff, and check the superheat, make sure it's in range. And a step further for me was, uh, like, I don't want to name names, but that other brand, we had a bad transducer. So like another step for me is I like to double check with my tools if it's the correct superheat and all that kind of stuff. So
Mhm,
I like to go into the board and kind of get those readings for my own startups and stuff like that. And
mhm.
it's easy. You go in there and you just kind of roll the dial and go through everything.
And that's one of the things that with the Intelligent, we purposely put a lot of information into it because to make it programming easier, but we also wanted to make it easier to troubleshoot the equipment as well. And we have board voltage, the control voltage to the board. That's a vital piece of information, especially if you're having some issues with the Intelligent, or you want to make sure that you don't want to have issues, that you're within the ranges of voltage that we say it has to be in. And we talk about the last defrost length. That's a good
Hmm.
diagnostic tool to see how well your defrost is working out, and how many times a day has it defrosted. And just tons and tons of information that um, every class that I've ever taught with Intelligent, I always have one or two technicians go, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that piece of merit. That's kind of nice. I like that. And so, like I said, it's very purposefully done to make sure that the technician has all the tools he has to be successful. But we also have to be sure to make them understand that no system is plug and play. As easy as we design it and build it and engineer it to be, user-friendly, tech-friendly, it still requires the tech. He's going to have to get out some tools. He's going to have to get out some meters and some gauges. One of the more
Ju-
common things, I'll just share this if I could. One of the
yeah.
common things that we've seen here is anything that has an adjustment to it, like a fan cycle control, a low pressure switch, a high pressure cutout, those kinds of things, and it has an adjustable control in it, it's not set at the factory. That has to be set at the field per the application of where it goes in the country.
Oh yeah.
So in essence, we install it, but we don't make any kinds of adjustments to that controller. That's part of the startup process. And we have a lot of technicians who will call in and say, hey, it's not running right because of this, or it's not pumping down correctly, or whatever the case may be, and then we will walk them through it and say, well, hey, you need to adjust your low pressure cutout, or your fan cycle's not set right. Well, you guys don't do that? Well, no. First of all, we don't know what refrigerant's going into it.
Oh
We
yeah.
don't know the application. We don't know even what area of the country this unit's going to. So no, we can't preset that kind of stuff. We have it in our I&O manual, but that's one of the things that's not really read very often.
Yeah, and
Unfortunately, and it should.
that's like a little pet peeve of mine when the install tech or whoever it is doesn't make sure that it like runs or run a cycle or do something, because that's what I always tell people, because I do AC and refrigeration. I always tell people on the refrigeration side, it's a little more tedious, a little more time consuming, because you got to make sure those pressure controls are cutting in and out. I like to make sure, and the thermostats are doing what they're supposed to, and it's pumping down. Like you got to make sure all of that stuff is working before you even say like you're good to go. So I like to wait and go through all those steps. And you're right, because I was going to bring up, I mean, not only what region are you in, right, for these settings, but what condition is the equipment. Like for me, we do a lot of old equipment, and they might get a new condensing unit or evaporator, and it's still the same old walk-in box. Like it might
Right.
be deteriorated. I just ran into that too, and I'm telling the customer, you need to get the door fixed. You need to get some of the panels fixed. It's not insulated correctly, and it's taking longer to cool, right?
Barometric
Another
dampers aren't working. Yeah.
Yeah, and another company went in and just put in the new unit or did repairs to it, and they just left, and I had to go back in and I had to adjust. This was a TXV, and I was like I don't want to bash the guy, but he didn't stay to make sure that he had superheat and all this other stuff, because all I had to do was go in there and adjust the TXV, and then it was working. So I mean, that's a pet peeve of mine when people don't double check these things on install, like you said, because I've had to go in, right? We put in equipment that still has mechanical, because that's what I do like about Intelligen is you have the smart inside. You could have the evaporator Intelligen and all that, and you can still use mechanical or conventional condenser. It doesn't need to be like anything fancy on the outside. You can put in uh, something normal or mechanical. But when you do that, I mean, you got to make sure that that pressure switch is set correctly, because I've basically every install I do, I have to set it, and it's not set.
You should. You
Yeah,
should.
it's
Yeah,
not.
absolutely.
So I mean, there's that.
That's Yeah, there's this. I mean, it's great points. I mean, this is a great point, because this is probably one of the more common reasons why a technician will call into tech support is, not that they didn't do it, or not that they didn't noted it. That was something that just overlooked. It's like, I didn't even think about the pressure switch, or my fans aren't shutting off. It's like, well, what's the fan cycle switch set for? you
Yeah,
know and we have these types of things, and that's the aha moments. And for the most part, 99% of the guys are like, cool, I'm going to go fix that right now. We never hear back from them again, and
yeah,
the systems are running great. And that's, and to your point, we're talking about, making sure that everything is running right. It's, unfortunately, it's all too common that, a technician will get the system running, get the box, starting to pull down, and I'm good, I'm out. And he's packing up and
yeah,
he's heading for the barn. And I've told technicians that I have worked with, and that have worked for me, it's like, look, if you just take that extra 45 minutes to an hour after the system is running, to make sure that your oil return is good, your pressures are going okay, things are cycling the way that it should. That's just an extra hour out of your day versus that callback is going to
Hmm.
be a lot more than an hour, and you're not going to get paid for that. So just
No,
take the
and
extra hour and walk through
yeah,
those
and
issues, check it off.
I've talked with other guys that are, very, they take pride in their work, and that's always a discussion we've had is like, you can't, like, especially on freezers. On coolers, it's a little easier. They typically work, quicker because it's a higher temperature. But like freezers, we've joked around like you can't just wait till it gets into like the 20s and be like, oh, you're good. Like sometimes it'll get stuck right at a certain temp, and you're like, oh, something's wrong. So like you said, if you just take the extra 45 minutes an hour, you should be able to catch whatever's going on
Mhm.
versus you go back and it's like iced over, or you got to defrost, pull the fans
Or you
out, do
slug the
all that.
compressor. Yeah, yeah, you
Oh yeah,
slugged out the compressor.
I'm always telling the customers, please call as soon as you see an issue, because the longer you wait, you're going to mess up that compressor, you're going to flood it, you're going to do something, and then we got a bigger problem on our hands. So yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, normally if you stay a little bit after you install and you wait for it to pull down, like you're going to catch if there's anything wrong with it, and hopefully, I mean, you get it going and it's not a big deal versus a callback. I hate dealing with that on the callback.
Completely
And
agree.
we've had those, like the condition of the box and all that kind of stuff. You have to take that into account too, because we've had customers that are stubborn that they want a new unit, and sometimes, like I said, another company will go and put it because they're like, yeah, we can do it, and I'm there like, you have this problem, this problem, this problem, right? The door infiltration, anything like that. New unit still ices up. I'm like, yeah, I told you to fix this problem first. So, now they blame it on the new unit. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
your system's good. I just gotta, take care of everything else.
And sometimes it's not even related to the equipment. I mean, how many times have you ever gone into a restaurant? It doesn't happen very often, but unfortunately, it happens more than I would like to admit. And you get the service call where, hey, look, my walk-in freezer looks like a winter wonderland.
Yeah.
There's snow and ice everywhere, right? And you get out there, and the first thing you see, and I've seen this firsthand, there's the dishwashing pit is 5 feet from the box,
Oh yeah.
and it's throwing out steam and hot, and very high latent load moisture. And you open that box up, it goes right into that coil, and it freezes against the coil. It freezes against the fan guards and the box, the box walls and the ceiling. Um, and it doesn't matter what you do to the equipment, it's always going to do that until they decide to either, they got to move some equipment around to accommodate for it. And those are
Yeah, there.
usually things that have happened for years and years, and no
Yes.
one's ever told them.
Yes.
Like, this is the first time I've ever heard that.
I was gonna say, because we deal with restaurants that are like in strip malls, or like they're in these buildings that may not have been a restaurant before they took over, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't designed for a restaurant. They put things wherever. And I've been trying to make it a point to tell my customers, but also tell people that I talk to, you might want to, don't zone in on that walk-in cooler or freezer, or that little prep cooler, that under counter. Does it feel hot in that area? Are they right next to like a dishwasher or pizza oven? Are they
Mm-hmm.
Is their AC working? Is their exhaust working? Like there's so many other
Exhaust,
things
exactly.
that you need to take
Exhaust.
into account before you start messing with that thing. So those are usually the first things I try to look at, is the conditions, and then I get into, okay, maybe we do have a problem and we'll check it. So a lot of things that you have to take into
You,
consideration.
yeah, you raise a great point, and that's just not even with even restaurants. It's even grocery stores or convenience stores. A lot of some technicians, I won't say a lot, but some technicians, they put the blinders on, and when they get onto the job site, they've got tools in hand, head down, and they walk right into the walk-in to address the problem. But you really should be, as soon as you walk through the front door,
Just look.
you should be looking. you know, is air rushing by you when you walk in the door because the building's under negative pressure? Is it hitting you in the face because it's got good positive pressure? What's the airflow like? Does it feel humid in the building? Because all that is going to directly affect the refrigeration system as well as air conditioning, but
Yeah, those are
refrigeration.
and like you said, they might not have known it's been like that for years and they deal with it. That's always a fun conversation when you're the one that's like, you have all these other problems here, right? We need to address those.
Yeah, yeah, and you're offering the solution, and you're kind of getting looked like you've got a second head because
Yeah, it's
no
like
one has ever mentioned these before.
I'm like it's not I'm not trying to, scam you. It's just nobody else has
Has
gone this
addressed this,
far
and
to check everything, yeah.
I agree 100%.
So these A2L equipment that you guys have going on, obviously there's going to be differences. There is some regulations that you need to go with, right? There's sensors. I believe you guys have, is it like one on each side of the evaporator?
One on so on the center mounts where there's two coils, there'll be two RDS sensors, refrigerant detection system sensors, but no, on all the other evaporators, just one sensor that we have located. It's set towards the bottom of the coil near the drain pan.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's we had looked around for different types of configurations, and we figured that the one temp sensor, sorry, the one detection system sensor was the best way.
And you guys are making this, from what I understand, you can get just that kit, correct? Like if you need to add it
Yes.
later or something like
Yep. If
that?
yeah, so yeah, good point. So we have a dual refrigerant system. We have a non A2L plus A2L
Yeah, that's what
evaporator.
I
So
was
you
thinking
can
of.
yeah, you can do both. In fact, we just completed a project where we started out with a normal non A2L refrigerant, and then we retrofitted it to A2L, and we added the RDS, and we got that wired in, and then with all the other ancillary things, with box size for mitigation and detection and all that kind of stuff, we converted it to an A2L system, and the Intelligen set up for that.
Hmm.
With non A2L and A2L gas. So when you select an A2L gas, then the Intelligen knows it needs to find the RDS attached to the board so it can communicate with it. And a lot of things happen within the firmware and within the programming that you don't have to worry about as a technician, except for just really the bottom line is that the same standard best practices that we have all used throughout our entire careers, or will continue to use throughout our careers, we're still using those best practices. We've just added a few more steps to that. So a lot of technicians think that these A2Ls were going to be reinventing the wheel, or they have to reinvent all of their technical background and their technical acumen in order to service this. And it's really not. It's the same wheel, just a couple more added spokes is really what it is. So if you have a good foundation for refrigerants, you're going to have a good foundation for A2L.
Yeah, it's basically the same, procedures, practices. It's just there's a big sticker that might be on there like, hey, it's, mildly flammable and we need to have some sort of sensor just like as a precaution. And I mean that's really about it.
Yeah, I mean the unit's configured a little bit differently. It's got some safety features that protect the refrigerant lines or the refrigerant stub outs. It has a guard over the evaporator coil. Our condensing units, particularly like the vertical condensing units, where we have the open space where like the receiver is and your piping, that has guards in it now because that's required because of the A2L to protect the coil and so forth. Uh,
Mm.
but no, I mean, otherwise the physics is the same, the design is the same. If you just looked at an A2L, probably the only way that you can tell it is, yeah, a few more stickers are added to the door, and then you got some fan guards and some coil guards that you have that are going to be present that are not present in a standard refrigerant
Yeah,
system.
it's just they're taking a little bit more steps into making sure that that doesn't leak out at any point. So there's just a
Yeah,
few more
yeah,
protection here and
and to
there.
make sure that nothing's going to inadvertently maybe damage the coil or damage any piping, that's why those guards are there as well.
Yeah, so if that is a dual refrigerant system, and you said like you have a non A2L, like an older refrigerant system, and you want to upgrade it at some point, is there anything physically you have to change out, or is it just removing the
So
refrigerant?
if you go from a non-A2L, you can't retrofit A2L to a non-A2L system that's old. Now, if the system was designed for A2L, you can, but let's say you've got a convenience store and they have 6 or 7 year old equipment and they want to move to A2L, you can't use that equipment. You
Yeah.
do have to upgrade it to A2L, condenser and evaporator. And then when you do that, then you start out with all new stuff. You've got, you make sure that your copper is properly marked per UL and whatever local codes that you are at the time. And then all your safety processes are in place, the leak detection system. Um, More importantly too, that you've got your A2L equipment. You can't put a standard vacuum pump on an A2L system. You can't use a standard non-A2L recovery system. You have to have, and your gauges.
Yeah, those
Granted,
20
you get
or
the adapters for that.
yeah, those
Yeah,
like 20, 30-year-old tools, you should upgrade them.
yeah, you should be upgrading them anyway. But yeah, this is a good excuse. Hey, boss, I need to get a new vacuum pump.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be rated for A2Ls. Yeah, that's always a good thing.
And typically anything that you've bought in, I would say in the past 5 years or so, like five, maybe even more, maybe 10, it is A2L compatible. It's just like I'm thinking of because like when I started, it was the old school vacuum pumps, like the hand me downs and all that kind of stuff. Those are the ones that you want to maybe upgrade.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, those are the things you definitely need to step that into the A2L arena. Now, your old stuff, I mean, for the most part, gauges, the difference is the reverse threads for A2L. So, we have to worry about that, but there's adapters you can get for that,
yeah,
for the
just be
reverse
prepared.
threads.
Just be prepared because I did hear stories of people going to do an install and it's like they already put the system in, they already have everything, they had the tank, and they can't even charge it or finish charging it because they forgot that they need an adapter. So just be prepared. You need these things.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, same way was, when I was a service tech in the field full time, I had several different sets of gauges. I had gauges
Yeah.
for oil, to check oil pressures, or if I had to do oil change, I had gauges for that. And I had regular refrigerant gauges and I had electronic gauges and I had Bluetooth. Well, you're just going to add a set of gauges and A2L set to your, to your collection,
Or
but
or if you just go digital, I've been telling people just go digital and you'll be fine.
yeah, no, absolutely right. You're 100% right.
I've lately with all the changes we've had, it's been hard to recommend like analog and older equipment. It's like, yeah, just dive into the new stuff and you'll be set with anything that comes out.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. I mean, yeah, I have analogs, I still do, but I also have my digitals as well, and I like both of them for the when in
Yes.
context for using them,
Oh yeah.
but no,
People still ask why I use manifolds and stuff. I'm like, I like it for certain situations. And I'm old
and the
school because
Bluetooth gauges. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm old school because I had a PT chart in my back pocket my entire career up until I got a digital gauge, and I just did the conversion manually. I mean, I can do it now if I need to. It's just, whatever, you see fit, but honestly in today's day and age there's so much technology, so many cool things that just
Take
get some
advantage
newer
of it.
tools. Yeah.
I 100% agree. Take advantage of it because truly, and there's every facet of our industry from equipment manufacturers to wholesalers to testing equipment to tools and process that we're using. Everything is updated. It's all very easy to use. There's probably a little more cost to it now, but the quality of the end product that you can produce as a technician with the new tools and the new equipment is far superior to what we had even 25 or 30 years ago.
My only question is on the dual system, dual refrigerant systems. Is that compressor work? Does that compressor work for all those refrigerants, or is there anything that has to be changed? Just in theory, like if you had to go from A2L to A2.
Mm, Yeah, no, good question. No, no. If it's one of I'll speak to our dual
Yeah, yeah.
refrigerant systems. No, everything is rated for either A2L or A1 systems.
Okay, because I've heard it different from other manufacturers, but that's cool to know. I've seen these kits at my supply house. I need to get my hands on one. Um, are you sell these intelligent kits on their own too?
Yeah,
Can you
IFM kit.
in can you upgrade an older system to use Intelligen, and how
Yes,
hard or
absolutely.
easy is that?
It's not hard at all, and that was the reason we go back to my other comment about you can go to an IFM kit. You can put the Intelligen on anybody's equipment, anybody's evaporator. It doesn't matter. Okay, we would prefer to see it on HeatCraft equipment, but
Yeah.
you don't have to. Okay, so that way, and we did that on purpose. Now the IFM kit, um, it's laid out where it's that's the field mount intelligent field mount kit. You can, which I think is kind of handy, especially if you've got like a freezer that's uh, exceptionally cold. You don't want to spend a lot of time. You can actually mount all of our equipment, all the controls outside the box.
Oh, okay.
And you can just run two pieces of conduit, one with control voltage and one with your line voltage, and now your controller and the user interface panel, it's all outside the box if you want to. Now, to your point, you can mount it at the evaporator, absolutely, um, and you just simply you'll gut a lot of the controls that's there, because really all you need is the suction pressure transducer, the three temp sensors, and the transformer, the board, and the user interface, and now you have an intelligent system. And if, let's say, you've got a scenario where, hey, they want this controller, but they have some budget constraints or whatever they've got, and well, we're not going to be able to put an EEV on this system. They still want to stick with their uh, solenoid TXV system. That's okay, because we have a selection where you can just tell the intelligent controller there's a TXV present, and it doesn't try to control an EEV, which is really nice. It still tracks everything. It still maintains, it still watches the superheat. It just doesn't move a
Hmm.
valve to make that. It's going to depend on the expansion valve to do that itself.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen those kits. I thought it was kind of neat, and just options. There's different
Absolutely.
options,
Yep.
and
And you can
personally,
mount the IFM kit 40 feet away from the evaporator if that's what you wanted to do.
I work in a lot of freezers. There's been times where the knob is like frozen over because it's iced over, but that's when the customer waits days to call it in, and I just
Mhm.
gotta tap it around a little bit, break it free, but they still work. I've never had a big issue
Right.
using their interface, like the intelligent interface, even when it's frozen over. I had a guy that had to. Yeah, it was on Intelligent. Like it iced over really bad. Customer waited again, and the board got iced over it. I was a little bit worried about it, but he took it out. I mean, we don't like to throw water on it, but he took it out, kind of let it thaw out a little bit while he worked on the inside. Got it cleaned up, put it back in, and it worked. I was like, okay, cool. Didn't cause too much damage on that one. So
Good.
I was impressed.
Yeah, we definitely try to make it as robust as we can. Clearly, it seems like when the more robust we try to make the equipment, some technicians will just take that as a challenge. Okay, fair enough. Let's see how far I can push this, but but for the most part, no. The intelligent board and the user interface, it's a pretty robust piece of equipment, and it withstands a lot of abuse.
See, but I forgot who I think I talked to the supplier. I don't think I talked to HeatCraft on this call that I had. Um, so the only thing I would ask is like the EEVs. Like, is there any best way to troubleshoot those things? Because I've had issues, and it's only been a couple. We've changed out so many or installed so many of these, and it's only been a couple, and these were at the very beginning because we have not had any issues in the past like year or two. But the the signal was not being sent from the board to regulate that EEV and step it the way it's supposed to, even though it said it was.
Mhm.
And they told me, whoever I talked to told me to change out the EEV, that they're going to send me this and that. Changed it out. It did the same thing. So I had to change out the board on that instance. Are there any like troubleshooting tips for? I think the EEV is something that people are intimidated by, and I mean, I learned that way. It's usually not. I mean, it's the same joke that we have. It's usually not the TXV. It's usually not the EEV. Is there any way to confidently troubleshoot those things?
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, a bunch of different ways. So the first thing you want to check for is the board control voltage. Okay, that's a critical step. That's something that's common that the EEV will begin uh, to have some problems with calibration and staying in sync with the board is if that board voltage gets below a certain point or above a certain point. The sweet spot for Intelligen for the EEV is you want your control voltage to be roughly between, say, 26 to 27 and a half volts. That's kind of
Okay.
a sweet spot there. Now, it's certainly if you go to 25 volts, it's it just doesn't stop working. I mean, you're still going to get really good performance out of it. But when you start getting kind of towards the lower end of the spectrum, what will happen is that the board is functioning okay, but the EEV doesn't respond as it
Mm,
should, and it will come out of sync with the board.
okay.
Same with the higher voltage. So it's possible that, just as an example, this is purely hypothetical. Like let's say the intelligent board commanded the EEV to open up 100 steps, and because of low voltage to the control board, it only opened up 80 steps,
Hmm.
right? If it does that enough times, pretty soon the EEV and the board are now out of sync. And then one of the symptoms of that will be you don't get good defrost because the compressor might turn it off and on during defrost because the EV is not fully at a 0 step or it's fully closed. It might show 0 steps, but it might actually be 25 or 30 steps open, and it's going to let refrigerant go by, and it's going to cause that compressor to kick on and off. So that's one of the first things to do is check what the
Is
voltage is.
is there any way to do they resync at on their own, like if you fix the voltage, or like is there any, because I've heard of that before, like when they're out of whack a little bit, like
Mhm.
because I know when you start up one of those systems, like it starts all like it does its thing, right? Either closes all the way or something like that, and then slowly opens, and it has a process. And like you said, if it's
Right.
out of sync, does it sync back up, or is there something you have to do?
No, you'll have to do something with it if it's out of sync to that point. And what you will do is very simple. Just turn the power off to the evaporator.
Okay.
On the Intelligen, if you notice, like towards the top right hand side of the Intelligen, there's a large capacitor that has a QR sticker on it. Actually, if you've noticed that before, that capacitor's sole job is to discharge to drive the EEV close in the event of a power failure.
Oh,
So
okay.
when you dump the power to the evaporator, that capacitor discharges and it overdrives the valve closed. Now you got to leave the power off for 2 minutes so it's fully discharged. Turn the power back on, leave it on for 2 minutes.
Mm,
Okay. If you repeat that 3 times, right? So you're overdriving the board closed. Sorry, you're overdriving the EEV closed. So you turn the power off, let it discharge for 2 minutes, turn the power back on for 2 minutes, and then turn it off again. Do that 3 times, and then it will resync the EEV to the board. And you turn the power back on, the board knows it's at 0 steps, the EV is at 0 steps, and now you're back in
okay.
sync. That's the
Yeah.
easiest way to do that.
Yeah, I knew there was like some sort of process to it, because I was troubleshooting that system that I had, and it was the EV was not closing on the
Mhm.
first call, and it was just running, 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 and that's what they were complaining about. And I know I had to shut off the breaker and shut off the power and then reset it, and I that's when I learned how it kind of works. Like you said, it'll drive, and then it'll try and calibrate also on startup, like it slowly opens or something like that. And
Right.
like I said, that it just happened to be one of the first ones that I had to deal with, and I was trying to learn as I went, and
Sure.
trying to see what the process was and what it does and all that kind of stuff. So that was a learning curve for me.
So yeah, absolutely. So out of sync is a very common thing for it to occur. Some of the diagnostic things that you can do with that EEV is you can check the ohm value. Remember, this is a motor, right? It has two separate windings, and so if you take the wire harness off of the top of the motor, right? And if you're looking at that motor for like looking straight down on it, so like the flat spot that said the flat spot that says CallRail is like facing your chest. You
Hmm.
have 4 terminals, one at a 12 o'clock, 3
Oh
o'clock,
yeah.
6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. Okay. Well, the two terminals at 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock are one winding. And then 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock are another winding. So you just check the ohm value, right? You're going to be about 150 ohms. Now, if you're in a very, very cold freezer, that ohm value might be 130 ohms because of the temperature. If it's in your hot truck, you just pull it out of your truck, you want to just check it, check the ohm value before you put it in, it might be 160, 165 ohms. So if, as long as you're within that 150 ohm plus or minus about 20%, it's fine. And it is possible to have one winding be good and one winding be bad. So you have to check both of them. If either one of them are bad, then you don't have to replace the whole valve. By the way, you can just go and get just that CallRail motor and
Mhm.
replace just that,
Oh yeah.
and then you're good to go with that. Another thing I wanted to bring up real quick, because this is a very common one as well, is on our evaporators, especially with the Intelligen, you have mounted on the suction line a well that the suction temp sensor goes into.
Hmm.
It's very, very common. I'm not sure why, but it's very, very common that that temp sensor gets put in that well, and then the technician doesn't insulate it.
Yeah,
And
I've seen that.
yeah, that's going to slug out your compressor is what it's going to do, because it's detecting air temperature now and not really the suction temperature. So if you have an Intelligen with an EEV and you keep icing the compressor and washing it out, or you're running this excessively low superheat, that's one of the things you want to check, is to make sure that your suction temp sensor is properly insulated.
Doesn't it come? Does it come with something to insulate it with?
Yes, we ship it. I think it's about maybe a 10 or 12-inch strip of
Okay.
cork tape or tar tape.
Yeah.
That does a good job. I always kind of tend to want to be a little bit more than that. My
Okay.
rule of thumb as a technician um, is whatever the thickness is of the suction line, Armaflex, I want to
Oh,
have
okay.
that well insulated that same thickness. So if I'm running 1-inch Armaflex, I'm going to put 1-inch insulation over that, and so on and
Okay.
so forth.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen that plenty of times where it's not insulated, and I'm just thinking because we've installed them too. I'm like, it comes with the piece to insulate it. Why not
Yep.
just use it?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy, but no, it's very common for that to happen. As a matter of fact, I've gone out on site visits as an FSE, for a warranty claim. Hey, I can't get this thing to work right, and that's
Yeah.
one of the first things I go look at is that sensing bulb insulated? If it's not, or the temp sensor is insulated. If it's not, hey man, let's get that insulated first.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those calls, and usually I have to deal with that first, and then check it. And I'm like, okay, if it works after that, then it was just an insulation problem.
Yeah.
And if
And
you
then another,
don't,
yeah,
and also if you just don't use the cork tape, because like I said, I've told my guys like, don't forget, use it. Uh, Not the biggest fan of cork tape, but it does hold really well. So I mean, once you put it on
yeah,
there, it's gonna
it
stay on
gets
there.
nasty. Yeah.
um, yeah, because I've had calls where it's not insulated, and it could have been pulled, or something happened, or vibration, that sensor just falls out, right? And then you got to call.
Yep. Yep.
So
And
I've
one of
seen
the
it.
things I also tell techs to do as well is when you put that in the sensing well, okay, take that piece of take that wire and you just kind of move it up to the suction line a little bit and just put a zip tie
Yeah,
to hold that wire, and that way you're through vibration or whatnot, it's not going to work itself out. It's going to stay inside the well.
yeah. It's the little things. Just make sure you do the
Mhm.
little things.
Yep, little details will kill you. What's that? What's it? The devil's in the details. Another thing that you want to be careful of, and this is not as common, but it's common enough that it should be mentioned, and that is the technician that started the equipment up selected the wrong refrigerant.
I've seen
He's
that too.
got 448 in there. Yep, he's got 448 in there, and he selected 404. You know, it's common, and that's just something that hey, look, he just didn't see it right. It was a glare from the light, or whatever. He thought he was on the right refrigerant. That can happen. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I've,
those
I've
are
gone
usually the main
through.
things.
I've gone through a few systems, and before I even started, just to if I didn't install it or work on it, just double check, because I've seen wrong refrigerant picked. Also, it's what do you call it? Set up for a freezer, but it's like actually a cooler. Little
Into the
things like
cooler.
that.
Mhm.
And I even had somebody that went full into it, and the superheat was set to something like 20 degrees. I'm like, no, that's not right. So I like to double check the settings and just make sure that everything's good on a. If it's something like an Intelligen where you can go through that, it just makes it easier if you can go and double check that, because you'll be chasing your tail, trying to figure out
Oh
something
yeah,
that's not there.
yeah. One other thing that's, and it's not related to the intelligence so much, but it affects the intelligence, is the time delay relays in the condensing unit. This was a really, really large problem a few years ago. It's kind of starting to go away, but it's still very prevalent. The Intelligen has its own built-in time delays.
Mm,
So the anti-short cycle timer in particular. So if you go out to that condensing unit and it has a anti-short cycle time delay, and that's that little black, non-adjustable time delay, right, with the two wires, that has to be removed. And what I
mm,
recommend is don't just unwire it. Okay. Yes, unwire it, but I would like for you to take that time delay out, remove it.
okay.
And the reason I say that is because let's say you go out to a service call. Hey, the time delay hasn't been removed. Okay. You unwire it, you leave the time delay there. And now next month I'm there for a PM and I see the time delay has been unwired. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to hook it back up, right? So you don't want that to be there. So, but there's also another time delay, and that's the low ambient time delay that does have to be there. The big differences between, they look exactly the same. They're the black, standard time delays, but the difference that you want to look for is the amount of wires going to them. If it's the 2-wire type of time delay, that's an anti-short cycle time delay. You have to remove it. If it's the low ambient time delay, it has 5 or 6 wires going to it. Plus, it has a time adjustment.
Hmm.
That time adjustment needs to be set for between the first and second hash mark, so that's less than 2 minutes, about 90 seconds roughly. That has to be there. The anti-short cycle time delay, you got to go, because what happens is that the Intelligen and that time delay get into a fight,
Hmm.
and the time delay will win because the Intelligen will just simply error off, and it'll stop trying to fight the time delay and just shut itself off. So it's important that that time delay is gone.
Yeah. Great tips. Um, the Intelligent also, what I've used too is it has like a test mode,
Mhm.
just to make sure everything works. There's so many things when you start messing with it. Like if anybody works on these or installs these, just go through the settings and kind of figure out, and read the manual. Obviously, I actually keep one of them on my van just in case. I always have it on me.
Good
And
man.
it's always good to go through because, like I said, I've used the test mode to try things. And I know there's, like you said, there's delays. There's ways that it starts up. Don't freak out. I when it starts, it has a particular way that it starts up as well that kind of threw me off the first time because it's calibrating and uh, I think doing a cycle or something and then it starts. You got to learn how to use the equipment.
Yep. Yeah, and 100% correct with that. And that's, some of the things that get kind of missing that startup are exactly what you talk about, the startup process. A very common thing to remember with the Intelligent is that whatever the expansion valve, the EEV, whatever steps it was set for when it cycled off, let's say you're at 150 steps and it goes into defrost. When it comes out of that defrost, it's going back to 150 steps and then it'll regulate from there. If it was the end of a cycle and that thing was at 60 steps and it completes its cycle, it shuts off, completes its cycle, comes back on, it's going back to 60 steps. So one of the things that we had added to our latest firmware version, right now our firmware versions are 1.06 if you have a green board and it's 1.07 if you have a blue board. We have added a way for the technician to manually operate the expansion by the EEV without having to turn the motor or put a magnet on top to spin it.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. Okay.
we just rolled that out. So you can actually go to the EEV settings, and you can actually command the valve to open or close however many steps you want,
Okay.
while you're in the controller, with the important part of when you leave that particular setting, it resets the valve back. So you cannot forget and leave that valve hanging open like in a manual 200 steps, and then it's goodbye compressor in a few hours, right? So
So
as
it
soon as you get out of that,
automatically?
yeah, as soon as you get
Okay.
out of that menu, it automatically resets the valve and takes the manual hold off of it.
Man, that would have been cool because like I said, when I first worked on them, I was asking like, how do you manually open or close these things?
Yeah, no way to
And
do it until we put that in there.
and I was told, it's a magnet, but it has to be like a certain, I don't know. Like I was told a few different ways, and it's
Yeah,
it's
it
not
was
easy.
Corel's magnet. I don't have one. I was looking to see if I
Yeah,
had
they
one on my
have.
desk.
I
I don't.
never bought one, but yeah, somebody told me that they had a magnet for it because you can't use a regular solenoid magnet, and it has a certain rotation on it. That would have been cool. So I do like that feature to manually. I'm gonna have to mess or look at one and see if we can get into that and just. It's cool that it's there. Like you said, it has to be updated, so it's on the new update.
Right.
What what is the difference between the green and blue boards?
Functionally nothing. It
Okay,
was just
because I've done
the green.
warranty calls, and it's like
Mhm.
sometimes I get a blue one, sometimes I get a green one.
Yeah, the blue boards are the newest version board. It has an updated chip, and it has,
Okay,
because back in during the COVID days, we had issues trying to get processors for the boards, and we found a better processor and a better type of supplier, if you will. And then we changed to that blue board. They functionally are exactly the
okay.
same. They do the same things. The logic is all the same, but the processor is different, and so we have different firmware versions. But yeah, yeah,
So the
it's
the
right
bluer
now.
one
Everything will transition to blue. Yeah, the bluer is the new
is
version. Yeah, there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with the
technically.
green version. Yeah,
No, I think I just installed the green one for a
yeah,
customer. They
they
had a
work just
warranty
fine.
call, and
Yeah.
it worked perfect. So I had no issues.
Mhm.
And that's what I was gonna say. Technically, the blue one is the newer one. Okay, because I
Yes.
saw them and I'm like they're different, but they look the same. So I don't know.
Yep. They do the exact same thing. Yeah, no difference.
Before we get off, I did want to ask because we're on the subject of troubleshooting. Do you guys offer, which you kind of already answered, but classes or any training specific to Intelligen or anything else that you guys have going
Yes,
on?
absolutely. Yeah, we absolutely have training. We have training. We have some online stuff. We have videos, and we have a lot of videos that are they're actually
I've been
being edited
watching.
as we speak.
Oh, okay. I was like, I've been watching a lot of them lately.
Yeah, we have a lot of videos that are going to drop. They're actually, like I said, they're in editing right now. It should be more than just a few more weeks before they're out. I'm not sure where they're going to post them to. Be quite honest, I'm not gonna lie about
Okay.
that. I don't know where they're going to go, but and it's step by step. Some of them are like how to set up an Intelligent, how to troubleshoot some certain things, how to troubleshoot the RDS, the refrigerant detection system, how to hook it up if you have to put one in the field. We've got videos we've already produced for that. We're just posting them. We have a lot of training. We have independent introduction to Intelligent. We have some advanced Intelligent training. We also have our HeatCraft certified contractor training, which has an emphasis on Intelligent. And that
Hmm.
actually, you come out to Stone Mountain and you go to our training center, and we have trainers that are there that you get on with the trainers, and you can do different wiring projects and diagnostic projects and setting stuff up, and even getting them online so you can see them on the web and with the MSC cards. We didn't talk about too much, but the MSC cards you can actually has Wi-Fi direct. So if you're a tech in the field, the system has an MSC or multi-system card installed with the Intelligen. You'll be able to communicate with the Intelligen off of your phone or a tablet,
Oh yeah. Okay.
right? Through basically it's a Wi-Fi direct, which is just kind of a really intense Bluetooth kind of a thing.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that because we haven't seen that yet. But I did hear about it, and I was like, that's really cool because
Yeah, they're really
obviously,
nice, especially if that evaporator's 30 feet in the air at a cold storage site, and you don't want to
yep.
bring in a lift just to check something. You can actually just connect to it from your phone and see it. And whatever you can do in front of that controller, you can do it on your phone.
Oh, that'd be
It's
awesome.
full, it's full menu. Yeah, it's full menu.
And that's what I love, the new technology, the new ways to troubleshoot and kind of work on these
And
things.
we're
It's
and we're continuing that. In fact, on our HeatCraft app, we actually have it's in development. We're still developing it, but it's already rolled out. We have a troubleshooting app for the Intelligen.
there you go.
So you can actually plug in, hey, I've got, error code 1. Okay, select error code 1. It will take you step by step. Check this. Did you check it? Okay, now check this. What was your answer? Okay, go to this step. It's kind of like a flow chart to walk you through some of the most common errors and alarm codes.
That's awesome to hear, because trying to track down the manual for every equipment that we run across and trying to, like you said, decipher codes and trying to get like a list
Hieroglyphics.
of
Yeah.
trying to get a list of like what it could possibly be. Like, you're always looking for the manual or those troubleshooting guides, and
Yeah.
if you can just have it in the app, there you go.
Yep, it's in the app and it's free to download.
Do you guys offer anything other than intelligent classes, or is it just based around
Oh no,
that?
we have CO2 classes, we have basic refrigeration, basic
Okay.
electricity classes. I mean everything from guys that are just or for I'm sorry, for folks that are just getting into the industry that don't know a whole lot. We have all of the basics, the 101, our Mojave hot gas defrost systems. We have advanced Mojave classes, basic Mojave classes. Anything that we produce and we manufacture, we can teach and offer technical assistance and technical education for. So
Awesome.
everything.
Because lately I've been asked, because I do more refrigeration, and I've been behind on like these online classes and type of deals. I'm used to the in-person trainings whenever those come in town, and the
Mhm.
supply house trainings, and just looking up. I mentioned I watched some of the HeatCraft videos like on YouTube. That's where I watched some stuff. I'm a
Mhm.
visual person, but I've been asked a lot lately, because I do refrigeration, like, where can I learn refrigeration? Where can I look up this or how to do that? And I didn't think about HeatCraft. They have all
Yeah,
this
we
training
have all
available.
that. Yeah, we have the basic stuff. I mean, we'll teach you how to use a meter. I mean, or
Okay.
we'll set you up and we'll show you all of the advanced programming for a CO2 rack. I mean, we have the full
Okay.
spectrum of training
Well, I'll
and
make
more,
sure
and
to
even more is even added. Yeah, more is even added to it. So we're
okay.
continuing
I'll
to
make
grow and
sure
expand
to
our training
let
program.
those people know that have asked, because
Yeah,
I didn't know if you
absolutely.
guys
Great.
just did Intelligen training or if it was like anything else.
Yeah, everything.
All right, man. We've been here over an hour. I don't want to keep you too long. Thanks again.
No
This
worries.
was a really fun conversation, particular to me because I love, walk-in boxes, refrigeration, and this was a great, conversation to have.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad I could help out. And let me know if I can do
I
anything
feel
for
like
you. I'd
we
be
could have
happy
had
to.
a whole other conversation, but I didn't want to keep you
We
here 2
certainly
hours.
can. And hey, reach out to my people. Have your people reach out to my people, and we'll be there, right?
Yeah, man. I
Very good.
appreciate it. Everybody watching and listening, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Take care.